Here with Dinah at Mullins Racing Shop, and we're going to talk some racing.
I am Dinah Mullins. I am wife of Willie Mullins. I am PR expert at Sellers and Peyton Sellers Racing, and this is our shop.
All right, Dinah, tell us how you got into racing.
I am third generation racing. My grandfather owned a dirt track in southern Minnesota. My dad was a dirt track racer. I grew up in Brainerd, Minnesota, behind Brainerd International Raceway. My first job was picking garbage there as a 12-year-old, because in the 80s you could have child labor. I met Willie 15 years ago and moved here. He was just SCCA road racing, and over the last 15 years, this is kind of what we built up to.
It's amazing. So we were talking earlier, you're a little bit of a pessimist when it comes to maybe life, but racing in general. What keeps you hopeful? What keeps you optimistic?
I'm just hoping we find people that love it the way that we do, for us, it's a way of life. That has changed a little bit in racing over the years. It is the hope that we find other people that have the passion to do this that we do, because I think this sport is completely different. The passion and the dedication it requires from other stick and ball sports, it is insane. If you're a team like us and you're building your own cars and you own a business and this is what you do as your hobby on the backside, the type of people that you meet that do this are extremely passionate, really good people. So that's what keeps us going in it.
Yeah, and it really is a way of life. Like it's all consuming, as I'm sure as a race team, but even as a race fan, you're like, I want to watch racing all weekend long. I want to follow the storylines, and it just kind of gets in your blood, and it's really my favorite thing.
I get really excited about racing. Like, I'll sit down and watch racing, but I need to know all the storylines. I need to know the tea. I need to know the gossip. I need to know who was mad at who last weekend. I struggle to just sit in the stands. I think that's where the Netflix shows help.
Yep.
That is why Willie and I become so wildly popular, because you're seeing kind of behind the scenes and like what's going on. But like, I want to walk through an infield and I want to know who wrecked who last week and who had to fix what. And I need to know all of the interpersonal struggles happening to really appreciate what's on the track. And I think that's something that really needs to be leaned into by a lot of the racetracks. I think racing itself doesn't sell itself that great anymore. I think the chaos behind the scenes is usually more interesting than what's happening on track. I'm not gonna lie, I have not watched the Netflix NASCAR one. I do struggle with a little bit of fluff and buff at the top level. What I would personally like to see, if NASCAR wanted to do a reality series on the back half of the truck field, it would be must-watch TV. If they understood the chaos, the absolute ass-hattery that's happening to get to the racetrack, that would be much more compelling. I find those stories interesting. There is such a lore behind racing of scammers. It's one of my favorite pastimes is the scammers of racing, which Arca's had a ton, and I'm normally like in the middle of it, like, you know. I think
You're
there's
detecting,
a lot.
like,
Yeah, it's my
like
favorite thing.
Who's false here? Like who's full of BS?
Yeah, I do it all the time. I actually get myself in a lot of trouble. I've been threatened to be sued by a scammer a couple years ago. So, but I wasn't wrong.
No, you're
I was right.
Your detective skills were wrong.
Well, it doesn't take much when you change your name and you can find the habitual offender list on the internet.
It's funny you say that, because recently we were in the pits at Langley Speedway. We were invited to come out, and it totally changed Vanessa's perspective on like what it takes to be part of it. Like all the work that you guys show on your page and what you've already mentioned, but also just the grind and the personalities there and the dogs that are in the pits and just like everything that goes on.
Personalities in a racetrack. I might have been at a certain local track 2 weeks ago in the tech shed screaming. So it's how it works. Some of it is, listen, when they talk about politics, if you are not a good politician, you'll struggle in the infield of a racetrack, because it is our own level of politics. Yeah. It's our own level of gamesmanship, and you'll see that people covering cars in weird ways. Like half of us aren't actually. That's an achieved that part. Carl Edwards was great for that. They'd roll a car out, you start covering things, and you cover things that aren't illegal, and it starts getting people talking, and there's a lot of gamesmanship that happens in the infield of a racetrack, and that is the stuff that gets me excited.
It's kind of fun, all the smoke and mirrors that happens. Okay, so tell us, if you were trying to convince somebody who's not into racing why they should get into racing and maybe what their next steps, what would you tell them?
As a fan or as somebody that wants to be involved on the backside as a team?
Let's start with fan, because
Okay.
I feel like the backside as a team, that might be daunting for a lot of folks.
As a fan, it's going out to your local racetrack. It's finding people from that track that you want to follow. Because like I said, I feel like getting tied in, like really understanding a driver is when you get really excited. I do think it's the biggest adrenaline rush watching cars running 150 miles an hour at Dominion Raceway side by side. And finding a facility that puts on a good show, that has a good atmosphere. I think Dominion, we're obviously local to Dominion Raceway. I think the facility is second to none. We've been all across the country. I put it up against cup tracks.
Right.
So it's finding a car that you can identify with, a driver you can identify with, that you can really like become part of the fandom. I think that's the fun part of it. Cheering against a driver without losing the plot. I do work for a man that gets hate to a level that is bizarre. Some of y'all have lost the plot. Cheering against people is a good time, but
It goes too far. There's a certain point where it goes too far.
Yeah.
I'm not a Joey Logano fan, but like at the end of the day, he's a human being. He deserves respect in that regard. Like I don't have to like what he does on the racetrack, but like don't make it personal.
Well, I mean, so much so. So these are two men that I've worked for over time, Philip Morris and Peyton Sellers. And when I was doing stuff for Reynolds Racing and I was a never 26 girl. Didn't want to win, got tired of it, and now I work for them. So, and I like to remind them all the time that I was a never 26 girl. So
I love that so much.